Hello and welcome to this episode of Motivation Monday. I'm your host, Krisna from Social Change Coalition. We are a grassroots global justice project activating an agent of change mindset. I have a beautiful and amazing guest today, Sokha from Long Beach Environmental Alliance.
Yes.
And do you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so Long Beach Environmental Alliance is a mouthful, so we call ourselves LBIA for fun. LBIA, BIA, Tortilla, that's how you can remember our acronyms. So we're a grassroots organization as well, and what we do is we focus on local solutions on how we can combat climate change by advocacy, passion, and just plain old getting involved. That's what we basically do.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm super excited to have her here today as our special guest because during the month of April, in honor and respect of Earth Day, which is today actually, April 22nd, we've been talking about environmental justice and activating some of our reflections around what are some challenges that we experience kind of living in a consumeristic society, and what are some ways that we can ensure that we're taking care of our wellness so that we don't engage or support in compassion fatigue, because we want to keep contributing to this really important conversation. We have this amazing guest today to give us some ideas on how we can do that by activating some of our passions and thinking thoughtfully around environmental justice. So I thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you, Krisna, for having me.
Yeah.
So, what activated me and motivated me to make a change was because I knew that there had to be more people like myself, and I was getting burnt out. Krisna mentioned earlier, what can we do to prevent that from happening? What I did was reached out to my community and met with those who agreed with what I agreed with, which was taking care of our planet and improving the quality of life for everyone. So I reached out to all these different groups with my friend and other co-founder of LBIA, John Kindred, and we basically made those connections and told them, hey, we all need to be working together in order to combat climate change. If we're not, then we'll lose, meaning we might face extinction, but before that, so many other actions come in.
What about the folks that say like, well, I work in the day and I can't come to a meeting, or say like, I already don't use phone, so participating in that conversation doesn't apply to me, or things like that.
Yeah.
Because there are many reasons why folks might feel like this conversation doesn't apply to them. Maybe because they feel that they're already participating in the ways that make sense for them, and or perhaps they don't see an entry point for whatever reason. It hasn't clicked for them. But of course, we know, as you just mentioned, it takes a village, right?
Yes.
It takes all of us collaborating together and working together.
Yes.
So like, what do you have advice for somebody that might say something like that? It doesn't apply to me.
So you can help on many different levels. In an individual level, meaning making sustainable choices, choosing to say no to single-use plastics, bring your own water bottle, your own cup, your own reusable wear, all types of things. Even to the products that you choose as a consumer, you can make a choice that can negatively or positively impact our environment. And that's how powerful you are as an individual. You guys all know plastic pollution is one of our pressing issues of our time, aside from climate change. So what can we do on an individual level to help mitigate that? So that is by saying no to plastic and choosing materials that can be sustainable and long-lasting, and just also talking about climate change and things you can do to combat it. If you have knowledge, please share it. Don't keep it to yourself, because in order for all of us to grow, we need to support and help each other and guide each other that way.
It's so powerful that you say that, because within Social Change Coalition's project, we aspire, part of our vision is to be a bridging agent and to support the collaboration of folks that might not necessarily feel that they have a play or a hand or they're an actor in any way and some of these social justice types of conversations. In April, we're focusing on environmental justice. So sometimes folks don't necessarily see where they fit in because maybe for whatever reason they don't feel a tie in to the conversation. And so I love what you're saying, to share your knowledge. If you feel like, hey, you got it down pat, you compost all the time, you don't use single, or you try to, eliminate your use of single-use items. If you have all this wealth of information, share it with a neighbor, with a friend, and pass on that wonderful knowledge. And your own inspirational story helps another person begin to think about how they could also participate, because sometimes, because we live in the last video that we shot, Motivation Monday, for this month in April, we talked about single-use items. We also talked about what are some challenges with using single-use items because we live in a convenience-driven society. So some folks are just so used to things being so convenient that that's a layer of challenge that it could be possible, but it just seems so overwhelming to try to start doing that. So having somebody else's story to go off of, give you some inspiration, share your information. Maybe you'll inspire someone, who knows?
Yeah, and with that being said, you have to practice. It's like meditation or like yoga. Do it for as long as you can. Try it out for a week, and then past a week, 2 weeks, and then into a month. And then after that, it'll just become very natural for you to bring your own water bottle, to bring your own reusable cutlery, all of that. So with that, climate change really affects where you live as well. So when you live in a place that's far away from not natural resources, perhaps when you do live far away, you don't get to see nature. So it might be difficult to connect with nature. So if you have any kind of opportunity to visit nature, that's where you can appreciate it and feel grounded and just, like I said, appreciate it and want to take care of it and maintain its beauty.
For sure.
So if you haven't visited any kind of green spaces, if you live far away, visit a park, far away from a national park and you can't go to anywhere, visit a park. If you do have the capabilities, a great place like Joshua Tree or something like that, go ahead and go do that, because nature is where it's at.
Yeah, for sure. And we're like so on the same wavelength, because I was thinking about that. If you could see in the background, we are at a park. We're at Bluff Park here in Long Beach, and Bluff Park is, well, it looks like it's on a bluff. You can see the ocean in the background, and there's some things in the background that you can see we'll talk about later. But the whole purpose of me wanting to do this particular episode of Motivation Monday here at the park with lots of children having fun in the background is because of what you just said, that a way for us to begin to be activated with how and why this conversation is important to us, why it's valuable to us, is by getting out in nature. Something that I talk about a lot in the spaces that I build around connecting with nature is this idea of grounding. Just take your shoes and socks off, walk around in the grass. Just walk around and see what it feels like. There is something really special that happens when we connect with nature. And now in a very modernized world, very fast-paced, especially in city life, there is a disconnect often because we go from a cubicle in an office to our cubicle car to our cubicle place where we live, and we're around man-made items and we're not able to really connect with Mother Nature. And so the more that we give ourselves opportunity to actually be in that space, be in a green space, as you mentioned, allows us to have personal interest in that, because then we might actually make notice, like I do every time I come to the beach, that there's always foam, there's always straws, there's always plastic bottle caps. There are things that we always see, and we have to understand that not only are we species that need protecting, but there are species also that are also vulnerable, that we have a hand. We all have a hand. We all have a hand on this wonderful, beautiful, abundant Mother Earth. And So when I go to a beach and I'm outside, I'm reminded of that also when I go into a place that is immensely green without any man-made things. There are no trash pollution or waste available to be seen, and so it feels really exciting and amazed, and I'm able to appreciate Mother Nature even more. So I appreciate what you said, because it is really true. How do we find a place to think about where do we fit into the conversation? Sometimes that just means we have to connect with Mother Earth first. It's a first step, if you will, and then we are more capable with skills to be able to start thinking about it from a larger perspective. Okay, if I don't use this single use and don't put it in the trash, then the likelihood of it showing on the beach is less. And this is how I'm participating. In addition to doing all of the collaborative group stuff that you mentioned, like finding a group of like-minded folks, you know, and participating together and doing things to protect Mother Earth, and doing things like legislative outreach and things like that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because it's so important to be out in nature.
It's very important.
Do you feel that you specifically, would you consider yourself environmentalist?
Yes.
Would you use that title?
Very much so. With true honor and
badges of honor, right?
I wish I had one, just like a pin that says environmentalist. Yeah, the earth is my church and nature is my religion. I don't know if you guys heard that before, but I really live by that. And we have to respect our earth. It gives us life. We only have one planet, and that's what's mind-boggling to me, is that people aren't making that connection. Like, where are these resources coming from? Where does my shirt come from? Where are the shoes? What are they made out of? Food, all of that. It's all because of our earth.
Was there anything particular in your life that really kind of pushed you in the direction of, formal experience with environmentalism in the ways that you have, whether that be education or whether they should be creating, the alliance as you have?
Well, that's a great question. So, what motivated me was nature. The first time, I'm from Long Beach, Northside Long Beach. I didn't see a lot of nature, and it took me a very long time to have my love for nature and Mother Earth. It all started from one camping trip that I had in my early 20s, and I fell in love. It was Yosemite. Talk about first time camping somewhere.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was sold. I was running into the valley, had so many, grass 4 feet tall, and in the background was, what's the dome? The dome?
Oh yeah,
the dome?
The dome.
I can't think of it. El Capitan.
Yeah.
One of the climbs. Anyways, so Yosemite captured my heart, and during that time, I was in between majors, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But when I transferred to Cal State Long Beach, I had a girlfriend that was like, "Oh, I'm doing environmental science. It's so awesome. It's basically all the things that we care about." And I was like, "What? There's a major like that? Let me switch my major." And before then, I was majoring in sociology. I wanted to do something working with people, so I scratched that one out, and I was like, oh, okay, well, environmental science and policy sounds really cool, and it's a STEM major as well, so why not? So I gave it a shot, and I fell more in love there with nature, and whether it be learning how to address them through calling Congress or voting or going to rallies, talking in front of city council, attending marches, signing petitions, things like that. And what motivated me, did I answer that question yet? Yeah. What motivated me was all that, but what also pushed me to make my alliance was that I didn't see enough of us out there, like meaning environmentalists who are younger. So thought, what can I do to give them the opportunity to learn the skills that I've learned and engage them to be an environmental activist and fight for our planet. So that is what ultimately motivated me.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. And I always find it so interesting when I ask folks who are really passionate about the idea of protecting Earth species and protecting and honoring Mother Earth. There's like some different types of folks that are engaged. There's the folks that really resonate with being like a native, indigenous identity, a person who just, it's already embedded part of their belief system. So there's those folks, and then there's the folks that are really just like passionate about environmentalism, and they would consider themselves environmentalists. They would use that as an identifier. And it's like there's those two camps, but then there's these other groups of folks, and they don't really feel like they fit into either maybe box. We do this in our society. We like to box people out. That's a whole nother area of justice that we have to talk about. But there's so many other folks that do actually really find a value in nature. When they think about going on vacation, they pick the places that have the most beautiful nature, picturesque environments. And now they become tourist destinations. A whole nother layer. Maybe we'll talk about that in another episode of Motivation Monday.
That is a whole other layer.
Yeah. But just thinking about that, if we feel like we love being in nature, then you're environmentalist. You don't have to have gone to college or taken any courses, and maybe you don't want to give yourself that label, but you do see value in honoring our Mother Earth. And so whether you want to take that on to your identity or not, it is something that's of value to you. So you actually do belong in this conversation of environmental justice, and we encourage you to. So have you come across any challenges? Do people have like a common theme of things they say most challenge them to participate in some of the things that you're mentioning?
So the most common thing that I hear is, I don't have the time. But honestly, you do have the time. I think people need to realize what kind of state we're in.
To see it from a more serious perspective.
Yeah, a more serious perspective. We only have 12 more years left to have the state of our Earth in equilibrium. We are past the levels of parts per million of CO2 in our air. We're seeing a lot of destruction in terms of environmental disasters. But it's also hard to see that because it's not happening, I guess,
in your face kind of thing.
In your face to us. But when it does happen, then maybe you'll have a understanding. Climate is ever changing. It's hard to decipher what's going on. But when disasters happen, they are very, very impactful in such a bad way. Many lives are lost. Green spaces, animals, it's all kinds of bad.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about this conversation of climate change from many different perspectives. So I live a plant-based lifestyle, so that's one perspective that I bring to the table in terms of how I personally am making choices that hopefully are supporting the lowering of our CO2s and all of those kinds of things that exist. So that's one, right? One modality to have the conversation. There's also the conversation of fossil fuels that we're using or that we're extracting, and how those are used to produce all of our wonderful, convenient living with the plastics. But what effect is that having on the planet? We might not necessarily see that because we're extracting and we don't necessarily see anything, or perhaps we're not sensitizing ourselves to see it. But in the background here are some islands. Ooh, beautiful islands.
In Long Beach?
Off the shore of Long Beach. And it's interesting because people
Yes.
come and they think like, oh wow.
Ooh, is that a resort? Is that a hotel? Well, let us tell you.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us, what
Yeah.
are these islands that look so wonderfully beautified with lights and building looking things?
Yeah, so I took a class at Cal State Long Beach where I had the opportunity to have a toxic tour from this group called East Yard Communities. And basically this group showcased where pollution was coming from and what areas were getting hit by pollution the most. And here on the bluff down Ocean, they are designed in such a way, I heard by an artist from Disney, to make them look appealing. And they did a great job making it look very appealing. But little
Deceiving.
do people know is that they are oil rigs. So Long Beach, we're known for our oil, and we still extract oil from our ground today, which is a big no-no. And that's what they're doing back there.
Yep. So particularly linked to our conversation, and we might not see it, but over time we can see it, and this is part of this conversation of climate change. These islands that have been back here over the course of 5 years have slowly, they are closer to the shoreline. So you can take that in all kinds of ways to think about it, but obviously something's happening with the earth if it's closer to the shoreline than it originally was. So just thinking about that, we're taking from the earth, and there's this wonderful balance that exists in our hottest core, all the layers of our earth, including what we can actually see above ground or feel with the air and all of that. There's a natural magnetic chemical reaction that's happening, and if we're extracting, we don't know what the ramifications will be right now.
Yes.
We have one example, these islands are coming closer to the shoreline. But what are all the other things that could be happening? And so we are promoting imbalance just with that one example of the fossil fuel. And so we have to really think about that. I know convenience with the cars and all of these kinds of things, these are part of our daily lives and things that we already participate in. And we don't want to bog ourselves down with, oh my gosh, climate change, it's my one responsibility to partake. But we can do things in several different ways. We can choose one thing that we might be participating in during 1 week. Maybe 1 week we're going to choose to reduce our use of fossil fuel type products. That doesn't just mean don't pump gas. That means all kinds of things. Don't use plastic. Don't engage in different types of activities that utilize fossil fuels in order to give you this product or give you access to convenience.
Maybe eat less meat. Meatless Mondays. You can start off doing that. I've had a couple of friends who are meat eaters, and they started eating less meat on Mondays, or even going meatless on Mondays. And that helps a lot too. And not only that, are you helping our earth, but you're helping to save an animal's life. And if you make that connection, you know, animals have feelings, they hurt, but they can't talk, and that's where we come in.
Not our language anyways.
Not our language, but
I'm sure they could communicate.
They can talk, which is the I'm alive talk. I'm alive and I'm a being, and I can feel pain or suffering.
Sure.
What was I saying with that? But just making choices like that. It can help in all kinds of areas. Wasn't he just crying?
She was so upset. So what was I wanting to link with that? Be reminded of all of the affirmations of things that we're doing already to participate. Sometimes people feel like, oh, well, where do I start? Thinking that they're starting at zero of a line of whoever's registering or keeping track. But really, they probably are already participating in some ways that they didn't even know.
Yeah, you can always search in on Google, how can I be more green?
Totally.
Or there's many different things that pop up.
It's so great because technology offers us, access to all of these things. And Earth Day has their own website, and they have like a lot of different really amazing ideas on there for Earth Day, in celebration. But we want to promote Earth Day being every day. So it's wonderful that we're focusing on that here in April in honor of Earth Day, and we're honoring with much love and respect, but we want to promote this every day, and every day means that we begin to internalize it into our life. We think about what are some of our challenges, why do we feel like, so let's go back to the time, right? So time is the number one challenge for folks to begin to start participating. So I want to encourage thinking about what you already do. We have some calls of action this month in April. You can take a peek at our website for some ideas, but you might go through the list and you decide, oh my gosh, I already do some of this stuff. So affirm for yourself that you're already participating and you're just adding. You're adding to what you already do. And if you really do feel like, oh my gosh, I'm starting at zero, link up with community, link up with a buddy. Have somebody to be there to support you. Because what's also really, 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 really important in this work of environmentalism and environmental justice is that we're thinking about our Mother Earth with compassion, that we have love and we feel a sense of alignment and connection. And not only is it with Mother Earth, but all the beings on Mother Earth. That includes us too, right? That includes all of our beings that live, our plants and the animals, but us too, us too. So we have to be compassionate with ourselves too. And we don't want to shame ourselves for maybe not participating or maybe not thinking about how it relates to you right now in your life. But it's never too late to find where your meaning is and to be connected. And we are all connected on this planet. And if we find our connections, we're able to have the support we need. And then we're not alone. We're not one person doing this. We're back to what you shared in the beginning. We are a team, a wonderful, collaborative, loving family that are supporting one another. We're holding each other accountable and we're affirming one another with lots of love and compassion so that we have all the wellness we need, so that not only do we have wellness here within, but we can begin to think about how wellness outside of us, the beautiful Mother Earth that we live on, also deserves wellness, and how we can support Mother Earth so Mother Earth can continue to support our wellness. You know, a back and forth wonderful relationship.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Did you have any final thoughts for us? How can we ensure that we are combating compassion fatigue? We don't give up. We don't want to burn out. We don't want to give up. We know Mother Earth is abundant. She has so many gifts that she can give us. We want to keep participating. How can we ensure that we do that? What are some pieces of advice that you have for us?
So this might sound silly, but death is upon us. We can't escape it.
That's so true.
So might as well make the best of it. Be your best self. Here's what I'm trying to say. So I live by this quote as well. I wish I knew who the author was, but
if anyone knows, drop a comment.
Yes. Do what is best, not what is easy. If you're taking the easy way out, you know, like what Krisna was saying, what you extract will throw imbalance. And life is all about balance. And I'm still struggling with that, but all in all, you just have to put your best foot forward and try better and do better than you were the person you were yesterday. And that's, I guess I want to leave by that. You know, you can't escape death. Do the best you can, be the best person, and leave the planet as if, what did they say? I can't even think about it right now. Leave the planet better than you left it. Yes.
Yeah. It's so amazing. It's so beautiful that you share that and closing.
That was such a struggle.
Because I think about that too. Like, what is my final message for this episode? Like, how can you participate? And I always lean back on what I was just sharing about finding your wellness and compassion. And that's so beautifully said in connection to that. Yes, because it's so important because we have cycles. Life is about cycles.
Yes.
And so this cycle of life, there's the birth and then there is the death, right? And then it comes again. Death doesn't necessarily mean that it's completely gone, but it could be transformed and changed.
Yes.
So as we think about challenges, maybe what comes to death is the dissolving of what we before felt as a challenge. We didn't have any time. And now our rebirthing, coming back into a different cycle, is us beginning to realize, like, wow, if I just take my reusable cup to Starbucks and I don't use a single use, I am transforming an old pattern and I'm creating a new one.
Yes.
And so this cycle of what we can be contributing, how can we address compassion fatigue, life and death cycles?
Yes.
And hey, be loving and compassionate with yourself as you go through this cycle, because we're all growing. Like you said, you're struggling with balance. Me too. There's so many of us that are struggling with different kinds of things. And maybe the reason why it's hard with time is because you're working multiple jobs. That's a whole nother conversation of justice. That sometimes there's some inequalities that exist in our society.
And that sounds like balance too, trying to balance things with work.
Yeah.
But you beautifully articulate everything that I couldn't say.
Teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work.
My passion is there, her passion is there, but your words are far more articulate. Another thing that just popped up is when it comes to time, just try to give your time to the environment. Taking shorter showers, making less trash. All that is essentially time in what you do on your daily life. So make it a positive choice. The choices we make are very important into what impacts our planet, whether it be positive or negative. And learn something new, share it. If you already are environmentalist, what is something else you can do on top of that?
Yeah. And again, if you internalize its value for yourself, you feel good about it. Doesn't matter if somebody else tells you, like, hey, you doing one thing isn't going to change climate change. That's fine. They can have their thoughts. They can have their feelings. Maybe they're having a bad day. But you know that you're finding compassion in yourself because you're treating your time as precious as it is, and you're making a conscious choice to use your time to support not only your wellness but the wellness of the planet. And collectively, if we begin to shift and support and lean on each other, my hope, my ultimate vision is that not just in the month of April are we talking about the earth and respecting Mother Earth and environmental justice, but that it is just an ingrained part of what we do. It's just all over the place. We no longer have single-use things. We really love and promote bring your own items, and we no longer rely on fossil fuel. We value renewable resources, so on and so forth. So I want to thank you for joining us today on this episode of Motivation Monday, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank
It's
you.
so amazing to have you, because we need like-minded folks who are passionate about what we are to help keep us going. And so that is another reminded layer of what we can do to combat compassion fatigue and ensure that we are moving forward with the things that matter the most to us. So see you guys next time. Happy Earth Day 2019. And to close, let's do a beautiful selfie with us. How should we do it?